Yo, it's the geek protagonist. So I'm seeing this thing abounding in the comics that ends up blowing up all over the internet, where people are talking about Splinter, and this whole thing about film reviewer claims Seth Rogen made Splinter gay in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mutant Mayhem butchered the turtles. Ah! And I'm seeing people who haven't seen the movie, who haven't even sniffed the things in the movie, running with this narrative. And then it's starting this conversation about what the real turtles are, or what they're supposed to be, and all this. So let's clear up a couple things. Now, I'm going to warn you now, there's going to be a little bit of spoilers in this one, because I'm a person who actually saw the movie. And you're a bunch of idiots. Because this person here is also saying that Splinter is a bigot. And then I'm going to explain to you why, even though I didn't think I was going to have to make this video like this, why the turtles have endured as long as they have. Okay, number one, there is a poster that they said Scumbag as himself, right? Because they don't know who the voice actor is, because Scumbag just makes a lot of noise. This is the same thing like Avengers at the end of the Endgame trailer, where they're all running together to fight Thanos, or the thing in Spider-Man, where you see Spider-Man, I think it was Homecoming, where you see him swing and Iron Man's flying next to him, and these things never happened in the movie. Or it could have just been at the time when they decided to change some things, because Mutant Mayhem got done early and they did some rewrites, they decided to do this. So, like I said, because people are going with this narrative and I'm seeing people jumping off the cliff, I'm not seeing that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, number one, Scumbag is a female in the movie. They actually said it multiple times. Splinter has said it. The Superfly and the crew said it. Scumbag is a female. Okay? So Splinter's not gay. Now let's, so now that's clear. Let's get to this whole Splinter being a human-hating bigot. Splinter's not the only character that hates humans. And I want you to really think about this, because I know right now you're like, not my turtles. I want you to think about this. Think about an actual humanoid rat walking around people. Just a giant rat. Just walking. You're going out street, you actually see a giant rat. You're going to freak out. 9 times out of 10. Most people, when they saw Frankenstein, you know, the old movies, the old book, people freaked out. Because when something is kind of off, non-human, especially if they don't look humanoid practically at all, and Frankenstein had bolts in his neck and all that stuff, but if you go through and you see that, there is a story plot to why Splinter has an issue with humans. It's not that Splinter just hates humans. Splinter fears humans because of the things humans did. Because in this particular iteration, Splinter is a rat. Just like in the movie. Sometimes Splinter is a rat, sometimes Splinter is a human. Because then I see people going, well, wasn't Splinter a human? Not in every iteration. Literally, you go to the 80s cartoons, Splinter is the rat. The human and the rat are one person. You go to the movie or the original comic, the human and the rat are not the same person. Okay, like with Yamato and stuff like that. So, there's an actual story arc and it's a story arc where Splinter starts to realize the issues that Splinter sees because of the fact that Superfly also hates humans. Because what humans did to them. As humans would. So, this is a different take. They have a different experience. And they actually have, and I hate to say it because I know this is going to make a lot of people angry, a more realistic response in that aspect to being treated a certain way and how people would do it. Did you notice that in most iterations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Splinter barely ever leaves the lair? Pretty much in every iteration. Because people would be uncomfortable. Now, this does become a story arc, which later there's a lot of things that goes on with Splinter. That Splinter goes from one point to another, and there's an actual explanation. And it was the fear of what happened, and it wasn't just a fear of that, it was the fear of a parent. Now, I'm going to also say something to you that's going to blow your mind. Did you know that a lot of people, especially POCs from time to time, things that are said behind closed doors about who to fear is a real thing? Sometimes people are taught to be afraid of cops because the things they've seen, the things they do. Look at today's society. How many people blame things on Caucasian people or straight white males or this because they were taught that they are the worst thing ever. And there's a fear there. They may interact or they may engage in the same world, but they will only cross a certain path because of that. That is a reflection of our society. Now, I'm going to get into another thing, because then I see people, as soon as they come up, they start bringing up stuff about how they changed this thing or they changed that thing, which I'm going to hope that I remember to do this when I review the rest of the series and stuff like that, because apparently this needs to be said multiple times. Oh, someone's hammering outside. Sorry. The turtles that you grew up with are not the definitive turtles and what defines the turtles. I said something controversial. Let me repeat that again. The turtles you grew up with are not the definitive turtles. Wow! The reason why the Ninja Turtles have endured all of these years and stay very popular and stay in the microcosm of the consciousness of humanity is because they change every time. You don't believe me? Because you're like, no, they're always the same. The 80s cartoon Ninja Turtles, most people, myself included, started there. But there are people who started with the original comic book. So if you go to the original comic book and the 80s cartoon Turtles, they are very different. Extremely different. Now, you take the 80s cartoon one, and even though they had these certain things that kind of set the stage, you go to the 2000 series. They are very different. The 80s ones are kind of more a little silly and things like this, where the 2000 series kind of define their personalities a little bit more. Like Raphael is a wrestling fan. Leonardo's more about Bushido. Things like that. Where in the original cartoon, it was kind of like an 80s thing. Oh, Donatello made a coffee maker that became a rocket. Michelangelo and them all eat every weird pizza possible. Raphael just talks to the camera all the time. And they did this. Now, even though I was waiting for a review with this, with Turtles Forever, that established, and, Eastman and Laird and them all kind of established this, that pretty much, and you see it all throughout, every single iteration of Turtles is canon and they're different. Because they always take a different approach. And every single series that the Turtles do that take a different approach, they add to the franchise. This is also why the thing endures. It's because each previous incarnation, even the incarnation you may not like, has added something good to the franchise to move it forward. Now, this is a very modern take on the Turtles with a kind of today's society, how they talk, how they do things, and people complain about April and say April was ugly. No, actually she wasn't. Also, too, even though I'm not usually a fan of race swapping or changing characters like this, let's talk real quick about the Turtles, just with April alone. April in one series was a ninja. April in one series was a scientist. April in another series is a reporter. April also looks a little different. In one series, April has powers. And she's a different age. The main thing with April is she keeps her red hair, and then in one particular series, April is race swap black. But Eastman does have like hands in this stuff. Just the same thing like in this one they did it black, but this is not the first time it's happened. Also, too, April in this movie is a redhead. So it wasn't a redhead erasure thing. And there's also April in one series who can fight, but she's not a ninja, she's just tough. Like, the Turtles have always changed, even how Splinter's looks, and why people go, well, Splinter's supposed to be the wise sage. Well, in the 2012 series, Splinter was a hard master. If you don't know what a hard master is, that's someone who is very aggressive with their students, but it's a way to train them. They will throw, they will hurt you, they will put it on you, so you kind of learn it from both angles, not just the move, what it feels like, so you learn how to do it. I've had a hard master when I did martial art training, when I did Hapkido, with Grandmaster Jihan Day. I did a few classes with him. He was not a guy who sat there and was like, okay, let's do this. No, he would like toss you on a thing and go, and lock you up. That's how it is. So, I'm not saying you have to like every iteration of Turtles. But you should at least give them a chance because every iteration is a little different. But at their core, they are the Turtles. And I've seen people, when they go, Rise, that's not Raphael, man. Yeah, actually it was. It's just that Raphael was put into a leadership position, and it showed you what happens if Raphael's in a leadership position, which is not the first time that happened, because if you go to the 80s one and the 2001, Raphael at one point in time was the leader for a stint of time. May not have been for very long, but it was, and it shows the shortcomings of it being Raphael, and they decided to do something different. But this particular series made the Turtles different, and that's why in the last Ronin Lost years, when they're doing the new future Turtles, they're different Turtles, because Eastman liked that idea of the Turtles being all different Turtles. So, as I'm going to work to continue to review these, because I was actually going to do my Oppenheimer review today, I'm still going to try to, but instead of sitting there and taking it, and when people sit there and go, oh, well, I'm a real Turtles fan, why can't they just keep it this way? It's because it never was. The 2012 series is different from the 2000 series. Their Turtles are always evolving, they're always changing. That's what makes them endure. At their core, they're still about four brothers, the core idea of the Turtles. And I want you to wrap your head around this. Like, really think about this, what I'm about to say. Is about them being a family and how they deal with the world beyond. Sometimes it's dealing with magic. And yes, these things do have comic book references, and so do Rise. So before anyone complains, this is so different from the original Turtles. The 2012 series is not the same as the 80-90 series, okay? There's a reason for that. So each Turtles that you grow up with is your definitive Turtles. But that does not mean it's the definitive Turtles. So, like I said, Splinter's not gay. There's a reason, and a good reason, why Splinter does not like humans, and all of the mutants don't like humans. It's the Turtles who kind of break them and get them to think differently, which isn't that a good thing? It's heroes doing it, and it's talking about a message of sometimes the younger generation can teach the older generation something new, or show them something new. And there's a talk about acceptance on both sides, because humans have a different reaction to the Turtles, and everyone as well too. But they do initially start with fear, and this does get delved into throughout the movie. And I didn't think I would have to talk about spoilers on this, but so for all the people that are sitting there saying, well, this is this, or the guy from Bounding into Comics is saying, well, they made Splinter this way. In the 2012 series, Splinter, as a hard master, is more of a certain way. They call him Father. When they had the crossover with the 80 series and they hear them say Father, the Turtles are like, no, that's Master Splinter. Father? Because every iteration is different. Even from the comic books, the IDW one is different from every other iteration. Because they're reincarnated. And there's like spiritual world and stuff like that. But yet, when they do something with magic and spiritual world and Rise, people are like, I don't like it. And the one funny thing I've noticed is that pretty much every person I've ran into that says they hate Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles never watched a single episode, never gave it the chance. But then when you catch the people who do watch it, and go watch some of their videos, the people who review the series, they show that series a bunch of love because that series was handled. Because the one thing that people need to remember is that Turtles is for everyone. And every change that they do, usually there's a meaning behind it. And it's one of the very few franchises that no matter what place they take or what they do, usually the people that have worked on it, from what I've seen, have had love for the Turtles. And they put their own little stamp on it. Because even if I wrote the Turtles, I would have something a little bit different than what a lot of people would see, just because that's just the way it is. So I would like to hear from you. Splinter's not gay. And there is a story plot, and he's not the only mutant that has a problem with humans because how humans are treating them. You know, like how some of the X-Men, there's the X-Men who want to protect the people that hate them, and then there's the X-Men like they used to be the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants with Magneto at one time, and how he treated humans. Two sides of the same perspective are like, but they go about it two different ways. But they're both treated and persecuted because people do not like mutants. Think about it. Mutants, mutants, mutants. Huh. So, that's my take. Geek Protagonists, you stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. I would love to hear what you have to say. If you've seen the movie, tell me what you thought, and I'll see you.